Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. This is episode 75 of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life. I'm your host, Anoki Kabasi, and I'm here to help you envision, plan, and take action on your big ideas so you can create impact at home and at work. Well, I'm really happy about today's episode because we're tackling something I hear from almost every ambitious mom that I talk to. So let me ask you this. What if you could build a business in just 2.5 hours a day? That sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, and today I'm pulling back the curtain to show you exactly how I've been doing this. So if you've ever thought, I just don't have enough time to pursue my dreams, well, this episode is especially for you then. Grab your notebook because I'm going to give you my exact blueprint. I'm literally sharing my schedule. And trust me, if I can do this while homeschooling 2 energetic boys, then you can absolutely adapt these principles to your own life as well. So let's dive in. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. Hi, while you're listening, could you tap the star rating for this show and then add a quick line about what you're getting from it? I check Apple Podcasts the most, and that's where your review helps new listeners find us. And if you are using another app, just hit follow and drop a review there as well. Thanks so much for spreading the word. I don't have enough time. How many times have you said that to yourself? If you're like most ambitious moms, then probably every day. It's the number one objection that I hear from women with big dreams. I completely understand it because I've been there myself. So here's my reality right now. I homeschool 2 boys during the day. I hold a science consulting job part-time, and our weekends are really sacred. They're mostly spent for family time. Like many of you, I need flexibility for doctor's appointments, field trips, and those inevitable sick days that throw our carefully planned schedules basically into chaos. And of course, you know how it goes. You finally get 30 minutes to yourself, and just as you sit down to work, somebody needs a snack or has a question about homework, or maybe one of your kids wants to show you their latest Lego creation. For me, I work in the evenings. Sometimes it's really hard because my kids actually get super chatty in the evenings. It's like all day long, they're busy doing other things, or they're distracted, or they're just kind of too exhausted maybe to really open up and talk. So it's really at night when I'm tucking them in and our voices are soft and the lights are out and we're just kind of cuddling that all of a sudden they become super chatty and really just want me to linger in there. It gets really hard to leave their rooms because I'm excited to talk to them, but I also know that this is time for me to start working. Or when you do sit down to work, maybe you find yourself constantly context switching. Your lack of organization maybe makes it hard for you to make the best use of your time. And so you sit down, you have these plans, and you start working, and then you realize you're just not really getting anywhere. So you might actually be surprised to hear me say that it's not really time that's the problem. It's actually how we use the time that we have. So it turns out that most of us actually overestimate how much time certain tasks will take, and then we underestimate how much we can actually accomplish in that short, focused work session. The key word here is focus. And I've actually had a whole Stay Focused series, so I'm going to link that series in the show notes, and you can take a look at that because I have all kinds of tips and tricks on how to maintain focus, both in building long-term habits as well as little hacks that you can use when you're actually sitting down to work. So I want to show you exactly how I structure my days to build my business with such little time. My work window is actually from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Monday through Fridays, and that's basically it, just 2.5 hours a day, and I try to limit it to 5 days a week, although I'll explain to you what happens sometimes on the weekends. I really don't have an elaborate morning routine, like I don't get up at 5 a.m. to start working. I sometimes work during lunchtime, and as I said, my weekends are mostly focused on family time, so I don't really sacrifice that part, although there are times when I do work on the weekends as well. So before I share my schedule, I just want to explain why I have selected this specific window. Because when it comes to your schedule, you can totally take what I'm saying and apply it to your specific window of time. It doesn't have to be the time that I've selected. But this nighttime window works for me and my life because of all the other goals and priorities that I have. And the way I have it organized, the goals that I've set for different domains of my life don't really fight against each other. So after the kids are in bed and the kitchen is cleaned, I then can focus completely on my business without feeling like I'm taking time away from my family, because I've essentially spent the whole day with my family. And it really also eliminates that whole idea of guilt that I'm working instead of spending time with my family. While I could technically push later, I also try to cut off my work time at around 11:30 because I want to prioritize sleep as part of staying healthy. It's part of my health plan, because we all know the research on sleep that if you consistently get less than 7 hours of sleep, that has a really significant negative impact on our cognitive function, our mood regulation, and even our immune health. So it is tempting for me to get into hustle mode. I have a tendency to be a workaholic, but I really try to give myself the morning to sleep in where I can, and also to cut off my evening work time at a reasonable time so I can go to bed. Working day after day with very little to no sleep just isn't sustainable. And I know, because that used to be me all of the time. And you might be wondering how I managed to actually build a business in the short amount of time. And that answer actually lies in intentional life planning. With life planning, I'm aligning my actions with my actual priorities. And I do that across all the different domains of my life. I work with my coaching clients, and we focus on creating this clarity around your values and your vision and mission before we ever touch a calendar. Because when you know exactly what matters to you, then deciding how to spend your limited time actually becomes much easier. Life planning is what gives you that foundation so that, let's say, if you have only 2.5 hours, you can make that count. You can make the most of it. You're not wasting precious minutes wondering what you need to work on or questioning if that's even the right path to you. I mean, have you ever started working on a project and you've just felt like it's been a real struggle, and you start to question, what am I doing? I don't even like doing this. Why am I working on this? These questions of self-doubt and having sort of a cloudy view of your vision are completely eliminated with a really strong life plan. And that is what I really want to build with you, because that clarity is what's going to become your superpower. It's what's going to help you wake up every day feeling driven, how you are going to be excited to work on things, and how you're going to be able to very easily set boundaries as well. And when you set out to do work, you're going to be extremely productive. So if that sounds like something you want to do, or if you're curious about my private coaching program where you can build your life plan, how all of that could accelerate your vision, then you should really consider booking a free exploratory call with me. I have only a few spots open. This is a completely free option that I offer so that you can learn a lot more about my process and really see if we're a good fit to work with each other. So you can access this option by clicking the link in the show notes, and you can book your free call with me right now. These spots fill up quickly because it's a really easy way for people to initiate conversations with me with no strings attached. So I can't guarantee that there's going to be any openings. So I would say that if you're feeling called to take this next step in your journey, then don't wait. Just check it out and click on that link. So I'm going to walk you through my exact weekly schedule. It's kind of a blueprint that you can take and then just modify it for your particular passion project or really big audacious goal you're working on. Maybe you're working on a really big idea that you want to turn into action, but are feeling really hesitant because you have such a small window. Maybe that window of time is when your baby's napping or when your kids are at school. So I want to show you how you can really do this with something as little as 2.5 hours a day. And I do have to tell you, there are other times in my life where I've worked on this with even less time. So I'm going to outline my schedule, and then I'm going to explain why I've set it up the way that I have. So I dedicate my Monday work block for content planning. I map out my podcast episodes, any other content that's associated with it, like my newsletters. And after I map it out, I also create some outlines so that I know what I'm going to talk about in each episode. And then on Tuesdays, I dedicate to recording episodes. I batch record my podcast episodes. I do 3 actually. As you might know, I actually release 2 episodes per week. But by recording 3, I have 1 extra episode that I start accumulating every week. And as you can see, every week that'll start adding up. So for example, I am going away for a couple of days, and during that time, I have to manage 3 episodes. So I already have those episodes recorded. They are going to be edited in advance of my trip, and I won't have to worry about it while I'm gone. By batching similar tasks, it really saves me a lot of mental energy because I'm working on the same task, as well as being able to get ahead of the game. Then Wednesdays, I save for editing. I edit the podcast episodes, and then I finalize all of the content, and then I prepare everything so that it can be published. And that would include quality control and scheduling things in advance. Now, Thursdays, I save for my projects. Every month, I pick one big project that I want to work on in my business. That is the way that I can grow my business. So everything that I've explained from Monday to Wednesday was really related to my podcast and generating content and essentially maintaining the instructional and teaching portion of my business. But there are many other things that I would need to do to grow and develop my business. So these projects on Thursday are really my larger business initiatives, like developing a course or working on a coaching framework or just general strategic planning. So this month, I am working on revamping my sales page. And my project for next month is to start including more SEO-friendly show notes and blog posts to go along with my podcast episodes. Now, I know what these projects already are. I do a big strategic planning annually as well as quarterly, and then I check in monthly and weekly on the strategic plan because these things may change even on a quarterly basis. I just want to make sure that what I thought was important, several months ago is still relevant to the current phase that I'm in. But at the point in my week when it's actually time to work on it, that is not when I'm making those decisions. The strategic planning is something that happens at another time, and I will explain that to you in a sec. So when Thursdays come around, I already know specifically what I'm going to work on. I am not sitting there doing a bunch of prep work. I'm actually doing the work on that project. Now, Friday for me is a bit of an admin day, but that's when I handle all of my monthly and quarterly tasks like digital filing, finances, updating my SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. I do little tasks like sending thank you notes to clients and podcast guests. Basically, all of the one-off tasks that don't happen necessarily every week, but I need to get done, I kind of clump over onto Fridays. So each Friday is going to look different because the frequency of that task will be different. Sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's every other month or quarterly. It's just that since they're one-off tasks, it's convenient for me to put them in on one day. Sometimes my Friday nights are not available. Friday nights, it's often a social time for us. And so if that happens, then I use my buffers in my schedule, which I have several episodes that talk about that, and I'll link one of them in the show notes, but essentially I will make up that time during a buffer. Sometimes that buffer may fall on a weekend. Historically, I have worked on the weekends, but it's just that in recent months, I've tried to refocus my weekends to being work-free zones. I've built this boundary intentionally, but occasionally I do use some weekend time for planning the week ahead if I'm feeling particularly inspired or I find myself with some open time. So here's some things that I want you to notice about my 2.5 hour daily work schedule so that you can apply these tactics to your work schedule. These are ways that you can maximize whatever short window of time you have to work. What you'll notice is that each work block, I only choose one thing. And since I only have one work block in my day, I basically am only working on one thing a day. As you notice, say Monday is for content planning, but another day is for recording. I'm not working on 3 things. I'm not working on 5 things, just one significant task that's going to move the needle in my business. And so this focus is really eliminating that scattered approach that we might find ourselves. We're ambitious women. We want to do it all. But when we try to do it all in a short time, that ends up wasting all of that precious time. Another thing to notice is that when you batch your tasks, like I said before, I explained how I batch record 3 episodes at a time, or I batch my content planning. It helps me reduce context switching and also allows me to work ahead of schedule. And when you get ahead, that in a way is creating a buffer so that when my life gets really full or I get kind of busy, like I said, I'm going out of town, that eliminates the stress of me falling behind. I have something to fall back on with these extra episodes that are ready, for example. Now, I haven't mentioned this yet, but another thing that I do is that I strategically leave certain tasks for last-minute work. I'll give you an example of how I do this. I actually leave my Pinterest graphics and my LinkedIn posts for last minute. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but what happens is that it prevents me from overthinking because I could work on it endlessly and tweak everything, and that perfectionist side of me comes out. But the amount of effort that I would end up putting in to get it, say, perfect, is actually going to be a waste of time because the ROI on something like a Pinterest pin is not really going to justify me spending 2 hours on it, right? So if I leave it for the last minute, then I'm only spending 20 to 30 minutes on my entire week's graphics and posts related to an episode. So perfectionism is not an option. And because I'm strict with my time and I've left it for the last minute, it automatically builds in a timer. Another task I like to leave sort of for the last minute is my newsletter because I like to offer really kind of quick fire updates and really current relevant things at the time that I send it out. By leaving it to the end, I can't really shoot for quote unquote perfect, but I can get a good enough job done, get my message out, make sure it's a current story, and I can really just be a lot more authentic and straight to the point. By the way, if you'd like to see this in action, then go ahead and sign up for my Solve for Mom Insiders newsletter, and you'll see that link as well in my show notes. All right, there you have it, my complete schedule of how I am running my business in just 2.5 hours every weekday. Now, is it always perfect? Absolutely not. There are weeks when my schedule does not go as planned, or technology fails, a child gets sick, I get sick, or life just simply throws a curveball, right? There are always going to be kinks in our plans. But I have a general framework, and what that means is that I can get back on track quickly without staying distracted or falling into some sort of guilt spiral. And so here is what I want you to take away from today's episode. I know your time is limited, but that is not going to be a barrier for your dreams. It's just simply a design constraint, and you can actually make it work with the right kind of focus and knowing how to be effective with the time that you have. And the key to that is intentional life planning. That is where you get to ruthlessly prioritize what's important to you. You get to build consistent action with habits, and where you take your big ideas and turn them into small, bite-sized pieces of action. So you can absolutely take this episode and use it to build out your time-constrained work block, right? But sometimes it's hard to apply everything all at once. So I would say if you're really new to this, just pick one thing. Maybe it's just learning to theme your days, or maybe you're trying to just work on giving yourself permission to work in that small window of time without feeling guilty. So you're working on that mindset. Whatever it is, doing that work in whatever short time you have is way better than having this imaginary schedule in your head that you feel is the only way for you to pursue your dreams. Because that imaginary schedule is just that. It's imaginary. And that means that you're never going to move forward with your dream. All right, ladies, thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I hope you found value in this. I really think that this is an episode that you're going to want to share with another ambitious mom friend of yours. I think there's someone out there in your life that needs this message from today, and so think about who that is, and I would love for you to share this with them. My hope is that I can unlock these dreams that many of you have and to start taking action on them, because I think that your dreams matter, your time matters, and most importantly, I think you matter. So until next time, keep moving forward, take that one intentional step at a time, and I can't wait to connect with you again with the next episode. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.